Welcome back to the shop, friends. Hope you're all living the dream. It's the second Saturday of the Wisconsin 9-day gun deer season, and the only reason we're sitting in the shop is because I managed to tag out earlier in the week. That hasn't happened in a while, so figured we might as well get outside, still do something productive, and stare at a different kind of deer, and instead of trying to kill it, see if we can bring it back to life. So I know this thing ran about 10 years ago, because that was the last time I had it running. Belongs to one of my high school buddies. He was tired of tripping over it at his place, so now it's here and I'm going to trip over it for a little while. See if we can get it running again, and then maybe kick it on down the road to someone that might have a little more use for it than I will. I got my hands full here with the 4 that I'm actually intending to keep. So let's take a closer look at this and see what we can do with it. Well, if you can read, you can see she's a Cyclone, little fan-cooled 340. If I remember correctly, I think this was someone's ice fishing sled. It's got a little hitch back there for towing around your gear. She's been converted to a twist throttle, unless they came factory with those, but I'm pretty sure that's a conversion. I would imagine that's a conversion just by looking at it. Looks like she's got about 5,200 miles on the clock. High mileage machine. Boot well over on this side looks like it's actually been cut out. Not sure what the nature of that is or the reasoning behind it. Almost looks like they were trying to fit something in there, like maybe a tackle box or something. Can't be that. It'd be a stupid spot to put something like that with the heat from the exhaust right there, but I don't know. I mean, that's my best guess. Looks like it was cut out to fit something in there, but whatever it was, no idea. I believe this is in 1979. I took a look at the VIN tag there and she's pretty scratched up, kind of hard to read. You can see the first number is a 7 and the last one is, it's either an 8 or a 9. So she's a 78 or a 79. And as you can see, she's got absolutely no suspension left to speak of, if it had any to begin with. And I think that track has cleats on it, from what I can tell. Let's pop the hood here and take a look at the old fan-cooled 340. Well, right off the bat, we got some issues we had to deal with there with the hood. Looks like the hood support cracked off at some point, so we got her held open with a bungee right now. And just taking a look at these coils. Not sure what the deal is with these wires, but this doesn't look stuck, and I mean, there was something connected here at some point and that's missing, but I don't remember this having electrical issues, like I said last time I looked at it 10 years ago. But and we're missing the top of the air box there. I wouldn't be surprised if I was the one that ripped that off of there and just chucked it off to the side and never put it back. Looks like she still has a belt on her. The secondary feels pretty free, and primary rotates. Man, if that's... Oh, there's a little bit of compression there. Feels maybe a little bit weak, but we'll throw our shitty Harbor Freight gauge on there and see what she does, but that might be a little low. Probably enough to run though, just by feeling. I imagine it's going to be plenty to run, but we'll still check it. And just looking at the fan shroud there, she looks like she may have got a little hot at some point. I'll have to take a look at that, see if the fan is actually rotating, if the belt broke or something like that. See what the deal is. Maybe she just got, I don't know, that could have been electrical heat or something, but obviously at some point she got hot enough to melt there. And our exhaust pipe is nice and secure. That'll definitely do its job just like that. We'll leave that alone for now, come back, address that later. Interesting detail about this guy compared to the Everest. The belly pan on this is all aluminum. Tunnel is aluminum. Everything on here that I can see is straight aluminum. So if we wanted to do, you know, some kind of suspension swap on this one, it'd be a little bit more difficult, just in, you know, the fact that it's aluminum. I'd have to get my hands on a TIG welder. So, and this one is actually, just looking at it here, she's pretty beat up. The belly pan is not in good shape. And this guy here, I do not think is stock either. That's a horn. I've never seen a horn on a snowmobile before. I'm guessing that's something that somebody added on afterwards. This must have belonged to an older gentleman at some point. Just seems to have all of the grandpa amenities on it. But anyway, what do you say we pull the plugs out, shoot some oil down the holes there, and see what she's got for compression. Well, plugs don't look all that bad. The primary side here looks like she might be just a touch lean, but not bad really. Almost looking like it's got that nice golden brown color that you like to see. We'll shoot some WD-40 down there. It was free. I was rotating the primary there by hand, if you saw that. But still, since she's been sitting for a while, it never hurts to add a little bit of extra lube. Alright, if you guys have watched any of the other videos where I've used this compression gauge, you know it's not accurate. It's just a cheap Harbor Freight one, but it's good enough to tell us if we're even between both sides, but I think she's off somewhere by about 30 or 40%, so not accurate whatsoever. So on the clutch side there, we're reading about 80 psi. I'd say that translates to somewhere right around 100, 110, just off of what I've seen in the past. And I want to say the Everest read somewhere right around 80 or 90 as well, and that thing runs like a top. So let's check the other side and see if we get about the same. Alright, mag side, let's see what she does. Perfect, right about 80 psi. Wonderful. Even between both sides. I guess let's throw the plugs back in the wires and see if we have spark. Alright, 20 minutes later, after I figured out where I put the key for this thing, she is in the on position, and let's see if we get some spark. Strong spark on the left side. I saw nothing on the right side on that first pull. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful spark on both sides, so we kind of got lucky there. You know, I was going to, at the very least, replace this fuel line, but it's not dry rotted at all. It's actually still very pliable. I'm not too worried about it whatsoever. Throttle is nice and free, actually. Looks like the choke is working. I think we can go ahead and dump some fuel into this thing. I don't think it's got anything in the tank right now. And maybe shoot some lube and some fuel into the carburetor there and see if she pops off. I wouldn't doubt it at all if the carburetor needs to be cleaned, but we're going to try and avoid that and just do the absolute bare minimum necessary here to see if we can get this thing going. Well, bad news about the fuel tank. Well, the fuel tank itself is probably fine because it's plastic, but I'm sure there's a bit of rust in there because that fuel cap looks like absolute shit. I did have another one laying around here that happened to fit, so we have that covered, and I noticed there was an inline fuel filter before the carb too. So again, we're going to try bare minimum, be super lazy here, and see if we can just get this thing running as is. Definitely the right thing to do here would be to clean the fuel tank out, but I have no interest in doing that today. Because let me tell you, I got a whiff of it when I pulled the cap off of there, and that is not going to be a fun time. So we're going to see if we can just dilute it and see what happens. After all, dilution is the solution to pollution, or something like that, right? Well, we got a little bit of fresh fuel in the tank there. We're going to try and see if we can get her to pop off. You know, the two-stroke, if you're going to shoot starting fluid into it and try to get it to start that way, you always want to use something that says it's got upper cylinder lubricant or with lubrication or something like that, just because, you know, two-strokes, I'm sure you guys already know this, they all get their lubrication from the fuel. I still like to shoot some WD-40 in there as well, but if you're not going to do that, always get a starting fluid that says it's got some sort of lubrication added to it. So let's see what we can make happen. Well, I'm sure she's going to pop off, but I don't have any high hopes that it's actually going to run without cleaning out the tank and the carburetor, but you never know, sometimes you get lucky. I guess we'll go full choke right off the bat and see what happens. Well, there's the pop. Smells like that was more than just starting fluid. I don't know. We'll try half choke, see if that does anything. Doesn't seem like it. Well, she fires on starting fluid, and that's something. I'm not one to sit here and pull my arm off knowing that I have a dirty carburetor and a gunked up fuel tank. At some point, you kind of just got to cut your losses, and you know what you got to do. You just got to do it. So I think we're at least going to pull the fuel line off the carb, make sure we're getting fuel to the carburetor, and just work our way backwards from there. And if we have to pull the tank, we'll pull a tank, but might as well just do it the right way. So let's get that fuel line off there and pull the carb if we have to. Well, it doesn't look like we have any fuel actually coming out of the tank, so there's either a blockage in there, not enough fuel, or I might just have to pressurize the tank just a little bit to get some to flow out. So I think that's what we're going to try first. I'm going to fire up the compressor here and we'll try and just force a little bit out and see if that does it. Well, not sure if you guys saw that or not, but I was able to force just a little bit of fuel into this new filter. Try that one more time. Might add just a bit more. And that's not at all the safest thing to do if you're going to pressurize a tank like that. Just be careful and, you know, think about what could happen if you're doing it. I'd like to think that's enough fuel, but I just don't know. Well, there is 100% fuel at the carburetor now. Probably not good fuel, maybe not enough. She is a bit stanky. But let's see if we can get her to pop off again. It looks like she's pulling fuel. Maybe. Well, she was definitely running on more than starting fluid that time. I was pulling fuel from the tank, though it didn't look like it was pulling a lot, so the fuel pump is definitely working. I was running it with the choke on there at the end, so either it's not pulling enough fuel or the idle circuit in the carb is all gunked up. Could be one, could be both. So I think the next step there, we're going to add a little bit more fuel to the tank because I still don't think this has more than a gallon in it. We got to get a little bit more fuel into the tank itself. And then we're going to go ahead, pull the carb, and just make sure we have everything clean in there. And then I think, honestly, after that, she's going to be running just fine. Because it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of stuff coming out of the fuel line, getting into the filter. That filter still looks relatively clean, so I don't think the tank is as bad as I thought it was going to be. So let's pull the carb off of there, get that cleaned up, and then we'll go from there and see what else she might need. Let's see just how nasty this is. She doesn't smell very good, I can tell you that much. And I'm sure you've all probably seen the guts of a round slide Mikuni several times, so if you feel the need to skip ahead, be my guest. You go right ahead. Huh. Well, there we go. She just froze up pretty good. Oh yeah, she's a bit nasty, just as we expected. I'll dump this out here real quick. Well, I'm not sure if you guys just heard or saw that, but the retainer for the needle just went intergalactic and is now orbiting the shop somewhere. But I don't think that's 100% necessary to put back in here. The paddle for the floats should hold it in place just fine, but we will test that assumption at our convenience here once we get everything cleaned up. Alright, I'm going to take the carb body outside and try and get all the ports cleaned out as best we can. And then we'll come back in and do all the little stuff. Alright, so we should be relatively clean there, clean enough anyway. We're going to toss this thing back together, give everything a nice coat of WD-40 beforehand, and then see what she does. Hopefully something. I'm kind of questioning whether or not I put those floats back in there the right way. 95% sure that I did, but you know, it's always that last 5% that gets you. So I will button this up the rest of the way and meet you guys back over at the machine. Well, let's give her a few more pulls here and see if they made any kind of a difference. It sounded like it there for a while. I thought it was running on a bit more than starting fluid. Let's try her again. Or did we run out of fuel because we're not pulling it from the tank? Well, there you go, guys. Simple case of a carb cleaning. That's really all she needed to get going again. Seems like it's idling pretty good. Could make a little bit of an adjustment. Honestly, the best thing to do for it right now would be to get an air box back on it, or at least some kind of filter. She does idle just a touch high. I was able to turn it down. I mean, it's fine to run as it is. You know, like anything else that you run in winter, you really don't need an air filter on it, just due to less particulate in the air. But right now, I don't really know what I plan to do with this thing. I'm thinking of just kicking it on down the road to somebody else. I think it'd be good for someone's kid, something to do during winter break or something to learn on. I guess you could, it's all set up for towing, so you could pull your ice fishing sled around with it or something like that, or maybe haul logs on your property, or haul wood on your property, as long as it was in a sled. Honestly, anything that's not on ice or a groomed trail, you're going to be getting stuck with this thing every 30 seconds, I think. But so as of right now, like I said, I think I'm going to go list her on Facebook and see if anybody bites on it. But if you guys have any other suggestions, anything you think I should do with it, just let me know. I think the chassis is pretty well shot on this thing. I mean, like I said, it would be good for beating around, but I've always wanted to take a fan-cooled snowmobile engine and just do something else with it. I don't know, whether it be, build some kind of a go-kart or something like that. I'm not sure really what I would have in mind, but like I said, if there's something you guys want to see, just let me know and we'll see what we can do. As far as suspension swaps with this one, I don't think it's going to happen. There's just no meat left on that belly pan. It's got so many tears in it, and I suppose I could spend quite a bit of time TIG welding it back together, but I don't have that kind of time, and I don't currently have a TIG welder, so I don't think I'm going to go drop $1,000+ on a TIG welder and gas just to weld this thing back together. But was fun to get it going. Next up on the chopping block is a 95 VMAX, I think. That's sitting outside right now, so as soon as this one's gone, we're going to get the next one pulled in here and see what we can do with that one. So as always, any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.